Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. I added CoCo Gauff to the thumbnail because I heard a report. I went fact checking and I found multiple reports that after one of her matches, I forgot which one it was, that she filed a lawsuit for $50 million against Fox Sports. They were trying to silence her, and it was why she allegedly filed this lawsuit because they were on a broadcast assassinating her character, talking about whether or not she was worthy of this playing tennis. It had nothing to do with the analytics, and I was like, that sounds real familiar. Shedeur, right? Attacking his character, and I said, shout out to CoCo Gauff because if she filed this lawsuit, she's probably one of the few athletes, black athletes, to take legal action against these major outlets who are sitting up on broadcast, pulling out racist tropes, stereotypes, talking about she's not worthy, but not talking about the game itself, her stats, etc. Doing essentially what the NFL Network did to Shedeur Sanders, doing essentially what Kevin Stefanski is doing, is currently still trying to point out that Shedeur Sanders is not worthy of being a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, but they won't let him go anywhere else, right? So we talked about his servant leadership and how it seems to be he's more effective at ruining the careers of quarterbacks and running off quarterbacks and holding back quarterbacks than he is winning. Why? Last year, when they got to the 2-6 mark and they were losing in 2024, he turned over the headset. Right? Then they continued to lose. They scapegoated the OC at the time and fired him. At the same point, when they got to 2-6 again, just like a script, what did Kevin Stefanski do? Turn over the headset to Tommy Rees, knowing Kevin Stefanski is going to still be calling the play. Right? So shout out to CoCo Gauff if this really did happen. If not, it should happen. I actually forwarded the clip to Miss Pilar because honestly, we've said it. Shedeur has a case, right? These people were supposed to be in the draft talking about Shedeur Sanders and his skills, but they couldn't drag him for being one of the most elite quarterbacks to come out of last year. So they attacked his character. Boomer Esiason is somewhere on another radio show. And I'm like, aren't you the one that said the owners took him off the board because he was entitled? That had absolutely nothing to do whether or not Shedeur was a first round QB. But see, he already proved himself to be a first round QB. So they couldn't use anything to hold him back from number 17 to 32. So they attacked his character. I'm like, well, if CoCo Gauff truly filed a lawsuit for $50 million, Shedeur Sanders has a lawsuit for probably 3 or 4 times that because it was a coordinated effort between the media. There are actually screenshots out there that say the NFL allowed people to run around and disparage Shedeur. And they used that same disparagement, which assassinated his character, that had nothing to do with his skills, to devalue him to the tune of $40 million. So shout out to CoCo Gauff if it did happen, because athletes, they do need to strike back. Why just let people bully you? They're not going to stop. So shout out to her. It's like I said, it's a lot of articles out there. And this young lady, she seems to have a good team around her. And that matters too, right? So y'all saw I had Shedeur on the thumbnail caked up, right? And I put her down with the crown on her head. I added her with the crown on her head because, if she actually did this, this is huge. This changes everything. And it wouldn't surprise me if she did and nobody wants to talk about it. What else do people seemingly not want to talk about? People don't want to talk about how in Cleveland, they made a change at offensive coordinator. And Colorado made a change at offensive coordinator at the same time. I wanted AI to put together 2 trains going down 2 different tracks with people hanging out the window, shaking hands, because why is Colorado walking lockstep with Cleveland? I'm like, so you mean to tell me Colorado changed offensive play caller quietly, and we didn't hear nothing about it. And from what I understand, an insider who somebody decided to protect their name told a reporter, and that's how it got out. At the same time, Kevin Stefanski is running around here taking Dylan to dinner to tell him he getting ready to turn over play calling. Why are we doing the exact same thing at the same time as Cleveland? So now going into the West Virginia game, just like the Cleveland Browns are going into the Jets game, Tommy Rees calling the plays over there with Kevin Stefanski's game plan, Kevin Stefanski's offensive schemes. So technically, Kevin Stefanski is still pulling the strings. Now, over here in Colorado, it was said that Brett Bertelon, who came from Jackson State, and we're going to look at some game footage from Jackson State from Shedeur's page. I'll probably share the link with you in the chat so you can look at all of it. Made my head hurt. I probably shouldn't have looked at it before because it was the Celebration Bowl, Shedeur's last game. I'm so glad he memorialized that time period on video, because now when you go back, you might see some things a little differently. You know, we talk about how Coach Prime has been sabotaged at CU since he's been there. After game 3, they went bananas. And it's like they've been trying to shut him down. So they quietly make a change from Pat Schumer to Brett Bertelon, who was the offensive coordinator at Jackson State, where Shedeur was the MVP. And this man, they want me to believe, took the headset against the Arizona game and called 3 identical plays in a row. He voluntarily chose to start the game with 3 bubble screens or 2 bubble screens. I don't believe it. So what that tells me is Brett Bertelon got the headset, but he was using Pat Schumer's game plan. You're not going to tell me they had time to quickly come up with a new game plan. And Brett Bertelon, whose work we've already seen by way of Shedeur and Travis in Jackson State, that's what he came up with. Something that looks like Pat Schumer and Kevin Stefanski out of Cleveland. The 2 trains coming down the 2 different tracks. You're not going to ever convince me that that was done quietly so that we don't know that Pat Schumer was a problem and they're not protecting Pat Schumer. They're protecting Pat Schumer. Here's the thing. Why? We already know his reputation preceded him. We already knew at some point that Shedeur was calling his own plays. Even though Pat Schumer was the OC, we knew Shedeur and Travis had a lot of input. That's documented. I was watching Travis in the Celebration Bowl. I think he had a sleeve around his waist. I saw Brett Bertelon in the film. You're going to see him too. So that guy that been around all this time called an identical game in Arizona to Pat Schumer's at U of H or Jackson State. That's bullshit. He was using Pat Schumer's game plan. So why give Brett Bertelon the opportunity to call plays with Pat Schumer's mess? You're not going to convince me that that's not what happened. And the fact that they didn't tell nobody about it and somebody ran out and told somebody else under the cloak of anonymity. You're not going to tell me that ain't what happened. Here's the thing. Why remove the headset and leave the game plan, which is the problem in the first place, intact? You know why this came out, right? I had to go back and look at the date of the video just to confirm that there's no confusion here, that those guys on that podcast, Buffed and Prime and 0 to 60, who came out and told the truth, that they didn't scheme for the opponent. So you want me to believe that Brett Bertelon didn't scheme at Jackson State? You want me to believe that Brett Bertelon used duplicity or repetitive play calling? No, he didn't. They wouldn't have won nothing. And even the players expected the OC to scheme, which is why the players went to outsiders to ask questions, which is why someone else under the cloak of anonymity told about the change. Why did the change have to be made quietly? That's the change we've been asking for all along. But it was made quietly. You supposedly didn't know, and it was the same, and you're supposed to believe that there's no point in firing Pat Schumer. You might as well bring him back next year because Brett Bertelon wasn't any better. Bullshit. You ain't gonna never convince me of that, and the jury neither. Brett Bertolone already has film from a different university with different players because Shedeur's gone. That repetitive play calling is what Pat Schumer been doing all season, what he did at Georgia Tech, what he did at U of H. And we're supposed to believe that a change was made quietly and it was on the up and up. No, it wasn't. And I'm just going to say it, right? I don't think Brett Bertolone is the one to mess with because he's been around too long. He came from Jackson State. He know what the bodies are buried. So you do this experiment under the cloak of darkness so nobody knows. You know, somebody else tells about it. It gets out. And now we're supposed to think, oh, well, you might as well keep Pat Schumer. I don't think that. And I'm probably out if that happens. But I want you to know the narrative to keep Pat Schumer is already out there. Last night, we were live and we ran into it on accident. Toward the end of the podcast, y'all were telling me about the USA Today story about Coach Prime demoting Pat Schumer, and I was looking for it while we were live. And I didn't find it, but I found the story by Colorado Buffalo Sports Illustrated, the local branch, that said what? Making a case to keep Pat Schumer. I said, oh, now I get it. Because it makes no sense to me why I want to make Brett Bertolone look like he's not any better than Pat Schumer until I remembered that article. I said, oh, I get it now. I said, we're supposed to think, oh, okay, well, at least you tried. You made a change. And Brett Bertolone isn't any better. So, yes, just go ahead on and bring Pat Schumer back. I don't feel like that at all. And some people said the reason why it didn't get out, it wasn't put forward, that the change was made because I hired Bertolone, who isn't good, and Pat Schumer, who isn't good, and Sean Lewis, who isn't good. Therefore, who's the problem? So things are getting out because players are going to third parties because they don't trust what's going on the inside. The story about the switch came because somebody told it to a reporter under the cloak of anonymity. I saw an article from On3 today that said they asked Coach Prime about it and he didn't want to talk about the switch. Right now, Colorado looking worse than Cleveland. I'm just putting it out there. And it's just a reminder to me of how special Shedeur was. He was. As a player at Colorado. And then I watched the Celebration Bowl today and I got a headache. Because I don't think setting foot on soil in Colorado at Game 4 was the first time Coach Prime got set up. Let's take a look. So, we have talked about why did Colorado really come get Coach Prime, who brought his Louis luggage but left, brought the coaches like Bertolone, but didn't make them OC. Now, somebody told me they got it, but I didn't get it. And I still don't get it. I don't get why Bertolone made the trip and couldn't be OC. And definitely in the same week that Bertolone supposedly called the Arizona game, of course, with Pat Schumer's play calling. Yeah, he sure did. He uses Pat Schumer's schemes. In that same week, I go back and I look at Jackson State. And I say to myself, you know, after looking at this footage after a few years and the way things ended, it makes me feel like they made sure that Coach Prime got up out of there and thinking he was going to better and seemingly prohibited him from bringing his OC in DC. They could make the trip, but not get the job. And the only problems Coach Prime has ever had with this program, sabotage, has been the main culprit, whether it's the refs or whether it's the OC or in-up coaching. That's been the only problem. Shedeur, Travis, the players that came from Jackson State, the players that came from UCF, that came from everywhere, LaJonte, they were all good. They were all elite. But this program has been hindered from day one. And it makes me think that what we talked about recently, did Colorado come get Coach Prime? Not for a long time, but to disrupt what was going on at Jackson State and the other HBCUs. Because I thought about it. The last Celebration Bowl, had they never left, what it would have been like. And I look at where Jackson State is today. They still have endorsements. They put all that back together. They still have their media department. They're still huge. They still on the block. They just played in the Vegas Classic. But I was reading comments, old comments, and people talking about how Coach Prime had recruits. Some kid committed from London. And I remember that was the biggest part of it all. It wasn't the Prime effect in terms of Michael Strahan getting suits for the players or Under Armour getting a new field for Jackson State, because that's just money. It was the recruiting that he was bringing to HBCUs, starting with Travis, which is why every player that had stars had one removed when they got to Jackson State. But Travis didn't care about that. Shedeur didn't care about that. But there were players who didn't come to Jackson State when Coach Prime first went, but they still ended up with Coach Prime. So there were players when he went there, they're like, nah. You know, they wanted that Power 5 or whatever it is, right? And some didn't even want to come to Jackson State when he first got there, even though they weren't at Power 5s. One ended up there anyway, because he got excluded. Jimmy Horn Jr. came later on. Zay Weaver came later on. Jimmy talks about how he was supposed to be at Jackson State too. So they've been knowing him for a minute. But when Coach Prime got down there and stopped the drought and the sweat, and then did it twice, that year he was on his way out to Colorado, he had players coming from everywhere. That's why I think they came and got him. And since there's a narrative to already talk up Pat Schumer, whose contract truly ends at the end of the year, the fact that they're putting that narrative out there at the same time we find out that Brett Bertolone supposedly isn't any better, and I don't believe it, than Pat Schumer's play calling, because I think that's bullshit. The narrative about keeping Schumer is pushed up. And last night, when I went and looked on my own after we ended the podcast, I Googled Coach Prime, Pat Schumer, replacing Pat Schumer, and I put in the comments what it said. Coach Prime aligns with Pat Schumer's play calling. And I watched the older video from this season where people in the comments, after Brett Bertolone talked about what we have been doing hasn't been working, that's the title. On Brian Howell's page, people in the comments said they were disappointed that Coach Prime said he didn't have a problem with the play calling. So Coach Prime quietly made a change that he didn't have a problem, he didn't want to make, that he was forced to make by who I have no idea, because he aligns with Pat Schumer play calling. And the way he told us in that press conference, it's up for you to notice it. He was basically letting us know that he made the change and it wasn't no different. And I'm like, wow. So he's still aligned with Pat Schumer's play calling? So has Pat Schumer been demoted? Did it happen for all 4 quarters? Or did it happen, the headset get exchanged when Juju got in? Because I'm going to tell you what else people are pointing out. So Pat Schumer wasn't calling the plays for Arizona, but the game looked the same until Juju got in. And then he scores like that. Lil Shedeur. So we want to throw Caden under the bus to protect Pat Schumer. And we going to hinder Brett Bertolone, who was with us at Jackson State, by making him use Pat Schumer's offensive schemes, which are trash. And we going to not be transparent and tell everybody if there was a switch when the switch was made to Juju, or if it was the whole game. And what do we know? Buffton Prime at 0-60 saw the scouting report, and they were like, y'all not even scheming for your opponent. So that tells you Brett Bertolone didn't put together his own scouting report, he didn't have time to scheme for the game for himself. Because I'm not going to never believe that that dude that was at the helm when Shedeur became an MVP at Jackson State called identical plays in a row because that's what he wanted to do. And then when Juju gets in, he gets a deep ball. He connects and he moves on. All of this lack of transparency is just making things worse. Because people going to start putting two and two together or trying to figure it out. But one thing is certain, it's some bullshit happening around there. And it's people that's lying by omission and telling half truths. And I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. Because from what I understand, the whole story about the change didn't even come from Coach Prime. It came from somebody who told it to somebody else, but they obviously had some receipts. And I don't understand why that ever needed to be a secret. There should have been transparency where that's concerned. And it is those types of decisions that are the reason this program have kids running out to third parties to understand what's going on. So let me get to my video. It is, I don't know if first, second, or third, but we just gonna keep it like that. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the first one and we just gonna see. All right. Oh, that's the end. I don't want to go with that one. Okay, hold on one second. I gotta kind of start from beginning to end. Okay, maybe I got it on here twice. All right, so I'm sharing this one. Let me see, make sure y'all can see my screen first. This is not copyrighted. This is personal video taken at the game. I was at this game. I think I was at this game or the one before. I have to go back and look. But I feel like it was this game because this was their last game. All right. So, all right. Y'all can see my screen. Good job. Okay. I just had to make sure. Okay. So as you can see, the score, was this the final score? Let's see. Hold on. So it's not copyrighted. It's just personal footage. You're looking at North Carolina Central and Jackson State Celebration Bowl. And this game actually went into overtime. Oh, yeah. That's it right there. That's the part right there. That's the part right there. If you blinked it, if you closed your eyes, you saw it and it made your head hurt. I will tell you that. If you saw this, it made your head hurt because this game had gone into overtime with a Hail Mary to Travis, just like in the Baylor game, there was a Hail Mary to LaJonte. Same play. That's why people like Shedeur had done this before, right? Coach Prime said it. There's nothing he hadn't seen. So that young man was in shambles. He was in the locker room crying, wrenching his hands because people had accused him, because he's white, of batting the ball down to lose the game rather than trying to catch the ball. Now, I looked him up. He was still at Jackson State, but he moved on to Missouri. He's still on their team. He got it. Looked like he got engaged. Life goes on, right? This right here was a defining moment because as you're getting ready to see in the other interviews, this was the last time Shedeur, I believe, and Travis played for Jackson State. This was a 2-year run of nothing but success. I mean, yeah, they didn't win everything, but they kind of did because they won the SWAC title. Then they won what? They never won the Celebration Bowl. I got some more footage. Take a look at this. So that was the end, but I got footage to come after that. But that was the part that makes my head hurt because if he had caught that ball, they would have went in double overtime. Nobody's saying they would have won, but the way that it ended was heartbreaking. And the truth is stranger than fiction because these are two HBCUs, and that was not a black player. So people were like beside themselves. If you read the comments, people talked about how much they cried. They cried if they was at the game. They cried in the car. They cried on the airplane. Because it was so heartbreaking. Because Coach Prime had done something that hadn't been done for a long time, and it was quick and it was fast. And he had already taken the job at Colorado. And if you ask me, this was what sealed the deal. This, because it had they won, maybe, you know what, maybe, I don't know. But what you're going to see next lets you know that they were already on the way out. But this was heartbreaking. This was heartbreaking for everybody. And I watched this today and I was like, this was so sad. I don't even know if I should have watched this. So let me go to the next clip. Let me move on to the next one because I don't want us to be sad. All right, so you're gonna recognize some faces, so stay tuned. Shedeur had just scored a touchdown, a running touchdown. So when they said he wasn't mobile, that was a lie. He's our man.
Yes, sir. You remember that now we talked about? Yes, sir. You remember when we talked about focus? Yes, sir. You remember when we talked about fight? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is your now. This is your now. Yeah. Let's seize the opportunity and let's do what we've been called to do. Yes, sir. We ain't here by mistake. This is your now. Yes, sir, coach. Let's go, coach.
So that was Coach Prime at the huddle before they got to the end. This is the same series of plays, but you see the longer stretch. Oh, this is overtime. This is the same series of plays. It was just for Coach Prime first. He was almost there. I wish he had just gotten the damn end zone, y'all. I really wish he had just gotten in the end zone. Almost. And I haven't even had time to examine the play call. That was it. Look at the player. He put his hands on his head, bro. I just don't know, bro. I'm just telling you, that was just a moment that people still shaking their head if they watch it. They just like, I don't know. I don't know. Because you just, all you can do was shake your head, right? Because you just, I don't know. It was just one of those things. All right, so this is after the game. This is why I say this young man is special. Mind you, down further in the locker room, you probably can't see it. There's a young man that's crying his eyes out, and Coach Prime goes over to console him. And this is why I say Shedeur is a special young man, and the way he's being done dirty by the NFL is just heartbreaking. Just as heartbreaking as that ball drop, which ended the season. All right, let's take a listen. Let me make sure y'all can see the page I'm trying to show. All right, this is it, y'all. Hold on one second. Oh, it switched. Hold on one second. Let's see this switch. Oh, it must have switched. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it back. This is it right here. Now that's Shedeur and Travis after the game, after the ball passed and dropped, and they talking amongst themselves. At this point, they know what's going down.
Family, bro. We gotta lean on each other. It's nobody's fault. None of that. Defense, y'all carried us the whole season. And I ain't putting that on them. I missed throws. We dropped. We ran wrong routes. We missed blocks. Everything, bro. It's not just one part of the team that ain't do it, bro.
So they still got on their JSU clothes. After the game, Shedeur consoled the team.
Proud of you.
They having their little moment.
You came up short, extremely. But you did your thing.
You did your
You
thing.
made some great throws, you made some great calls, great adjustments. You did your thing. You put the world on notice.
Put the world on notice. He did. He did.
You make it. Why can't I Why always got to be
I'm trying to take you to
can't
the
be
next
me?
level. You don't want that. You don't want to be next level.
I already been there.
I can have you
You can have me what?
just different.
Ain't no wrong with
But
that.
don't even worry about it, because I was gonna be the Christian.
Oh, I ain't getting no criminal? I ain't getting no
That's
criminal?
Sam. Y'all see Sam? Look at
I
Sam.
ain't getting no criminal.
There it is. Y'all see what time it
He's
is.
definitely balling.
Y'all see what time it is. And they JSU clothes straight from the game. So y'all, this is leaving the game, boarding a plane. So they left straight from the game. They on the plane. And now they in Colorado with their JSU gear on. So they were still dressed. They ended the era at Jackson State and walked right into their confines in Colorado. And this just breaks my heart, bro. Every time I look at it, it just makes me so sad. Because of the way it ended. Coach Prime is limping. They still dressed. That's Shedeur. That's his new office. Everything was waiting for them. They knew they was coming.
Well,
They already had everything on the walls. You know, Coach Prime don't like shoes on the carpet. They already had the wall done and everything. It said, you are in the portal. And that's it. That's it. So, yeah, that's it. So when he put the phone up, just in case you didn't say it, it was saying you are in the portal, Miss Ross. So that's it. But that was so heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking every single time. Because here's the thing, right? I know Jackson State wasn't perfect, right? And I understand the president was a big part of that. And I do believe he was pushed up to be a problem because they got rid of him right afterwards, right? But, you know, I'm not going to say that they weren't supposed to go to Colorado. But I will say, when you look at after game 3, right, the third game, they riding high. Shedeur, like Coach Prime said, put the world on notice. But so did Coach Prime. We're getting all the recruits to come to Jackson State. They weren't going to let that happen for 2 more years. They talked about that. And Colorado fired their 1-11 coach, who was also black mid-season. Now, I never knew that. And they got another black coach. And the one they had before that was black, was Mel Tucker. And I told y'all, when I saw Coach Prime walking up the hallway and I saw the names of the coaches, I saw Mel Tucker. I had looked back then, how long was he there? I was like, damn, he was only there for a year. So he quit because why? He got an offer from another school. This is the conversation that's been had now. So in the comments early today, several people, we were talking back and forth. I think New York, NY, I think that's his name, said that Matt Chesney, the guy from 0 to 60, and I said, you know, we need to confirm this, but I don't think he lying. They must have been talking about Coach Prime's contract. And something about Matt said that if Coach Prime quit, they don't have to pay him the money. And the $50 million. And I thought about Mel Tucker. I said, hold on. Mel Tucker was there for a year. They gave him a long-term contract for 8 years. They rescinded it and reduced the time to 6 years. In the middle of his first season, he had won 5 games and was losing the other ones. What, 5 and 7 or something like that? So he gets a call from Michigan State to go over there. So he quits Colorado. So I'm thinking they didn't pay him. But then he goes to Michigan State and he gets set up. And I don't think they had to pay him either. And he's out of coaching. And I said, it wouldn't surprise me if that was a play and they finna run it back with Coach Prime. What do I mean by that? There's always Coach Prime is leaving, but you haven't heard that this year. We know how these boosters are doing. Matt Chesney, I know he's a booster, so I know he know what they're thinking. To even be having that conversation in itself and talking about that publicly is interesting, in my opinion. And I always thought it was weird that, they didn't have a lot of black head coaches. Coach Prime is only the 4th. And every season he's been there, he's been under the gun. And really, it was Shedeur who caked up so they wouldn't take his father's program down. And then look at what happened to Shedeur in the draft. He gets punished. And then look at what's happening to him in Cleveland. Now Colorado and Cleveland in lockstep at what's going on in CU's program and in Cleveland. And I'm like, does Coach Prime not see the parallels? That's what's going on here in Colorado, the moves they have you making, whether they pressuring you to put in style, pressuring you to switch off of Bertolone and not tell nobody. At the same time, Stefanski executes their script in Cleveland and he turns his headset over. But football people know the game, scheme, plan for offense is whoever's it was before or the head coach. And I'm like, for Coach Prime to go on the record that he don't have a problem with Pat Schumer and to make that change quietly. And now it's coming out. Does he not understand that if he bring Pat Schumer back, by the 3rd game of next year, he ain't going to be the coach? Because what happened in 2024 in Cleveland? Stefanski turned over the headset and they fired the OC. So they knew they were going to scapegoat that dude. Are they going to do the same thing to Tommy Rees? Probably. We're going to have to see. And now, if Coach Prime goes out on the limb for Schumer, for God knows whatever reason, and he keeps Schumer and let go Bertolone, who was on the sideline at Jackson State, with Shedeur, who was the MVP, I think they're going to set him up. And he don't see it. I don't know how he don't see it. I don't know why Bertolone wasn't the OC when he came in, but he made the trip because that ain't making no sense. But I can know that Bertolone didn't call 3 identical plays in a row voluntarily. He was given a game plan. He was given an offensive scheme, and it came from Pat Schumer. So why set Bertolone to look bad? Why set Caden to look bad to protect Schumer at the same time the narrative is floating, bring Schumer back? And Schumer is the one who helped take down Shedeur in the draft. So let me see what y'all saying, because this is crazy. I'm like, this is like a mind-bending, twisting twilight moment that is just like the Matrix. Like, are you not seeing what's going on here? The way things are coming out under the cloak of anonymity. The things that you can see for yourself that don't make no sense. Something's not right. And I asked, the question, like, do they have something on this man? Hey, Mac, how you doing? So I'm checking to see what y'all saying. So y'all tell me what y'all know. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? The Egyptian queen. It said, big talking crap tonight. How you doing? Oh, and there was something I wanted to share with y'all too. I got something else to share with y'all, but let me get to these comments. Hey, everybody. Hey, Nola girl. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, Nikki? Hey, Amber, how you doing? It said, your talking got coaches walking. You go, girl, with your bad self. That's funny. That's funny. It said, Nola girl be throwing down in the kitchen. That's hilarious. Soon as I hear Kevin, it's over. That's so funny. It said I just went ahead and cooked earlier. Hey Sonya, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Mac, I got the pot for her to use. Let's go. That's so funny. It's time for me to give me and my mom another hoodie. Okay, I paid off the last two. Okay. Oh, did you use shop? If y'all shop at What She Said Sports, I'm telling y'all, download the shop app. It's for free. I used the shop app before this because why? When you order it, of course, when you order something, anything over $35, if you order something that's $40, whatever, and up, you can no interest, just what I call relax your payments, right? But why I like the app, it tells you where your order is in the process. When we get it, when it's in processing, when it's shipped, where it exactly is at the post office or whoever gonna deliver it, and when it delivers. I'm telling you, it's an ease of mind. You don't have to worry about it. And again, 2 to 3 business days, everything is already pushing and moving out. So the shop app, go check out the store, whatshesaidsports.com. And family members, What She Said family members, it's quite a bit of y'all now. I sent a post for y'all to email me. Just if family members, I know who you are, but just email me. Let me know. All you got to do is so I can know who you are, because email addresses don't always match. Just put your IG, your YouTube handle in the email, because I have a gift for y'all. So family members, I appreciate y'all for riding with me, supporting me like that. And it's something I want to send y'all. So email me, whatshesaid404@gmail.com. What She Said Sports family members. Thank y'all for betting on me like that. I appreciate it. Okay, so easy lawsuit. Right. Like I said, Shedeur got one. Shedeur got one for sure. It said, I'm glad CoCo isn't here for the BS. Right. And I watched her tennis matches. She be calling them umpire ladies in the chair or whatever they are. She be calling them out. And she's like, look, you didn't watch her 4 times. You missed her 4 times. And I was like, go ahead, CoCo. Very, very, very intelligent young lady. And for them to come at her like that. And what it shows you is it's not just Shedeur. It's not just CoCo. It's Black athletes. So yeah, I'm glad, that she would, and she shouldn't be the first and she shouldn't be the last, right? Shedeur definitely got a case, right? Definitely got a place. What did it say? I want my plate well done. You so funny. It said Bertolone doesn't need to ruin his reputation like that using Platt's playbook. Right. So that whole scenario, right, done under in silence, and then Coach Prime is acting about it. He don't want to talk about it. I'm like, Coach Prime, I don't know what's going on. And if you see this video or anybody else, I'm gonna just go ahead on and say this. Bertolone was with you in Mississippi. Mississippi. And if you trusted him enough to bring him to Colorado, now I don't know, he wasn't the OC, but he should have been. But that was the first clue that they was gonna set you up, because you are not any different than them other 3 Black coaches that they only gave 2 years to, or maybe lured out of there so they didn't have to pay him as he was losing and got him set up somewhere else. All I'm gonna say is, if somebody ride with you and help you win and your son to be the MVP in Mississippi, take care of them. Take care of Bertolone, because that man been down. He never even had to leave the state of Mississippi. Apparently he liked it there because he was there longer than a month. So all I'm gonna say is, Pat Schumer and them NFL folks have already painted you a picture, as Kevin Gates have said. Don't let them have to paint you another picture. Please take care of Brett Bertolone. Let that man come up with his own game plan, his own schemes. You already know he's successful. Do not let that man be abused over there, because somebody gonna talk about it. And they've been around long enough. They know where all the bodies are buried. So I'm not saying you need to be afraid of nobody or they gonna extort you. What I'm saying is, they still doing right by you. So please do right by them. If you're gonna switch to Juju and you're gonna switch to Bertolone, whether we know it or not, you need to switch away from Pat Schumer's offensive schemes and let Bertolone come up with his own that worked at Jackson State for Shedeur. No point in calling Juju Lil Shedeur and really letting Pat Schumer pull the puppet strings for Bertolone, because it ain't gonna be nice. It's not gonna be nice. That's all I'm gonna say about, that's my message for Coach Prime. Take care of Berlon. Let that man do his job, right? So, and stop aligning with Pat Schumer. That's not making no sense. So, whatever they telling you, you can blink twice. If they got some on you, just let us know. We'll ride with you. You got us. But don't let them turn you against the people that were loyal to you, because you ain't gonna have nobody. I'm just saying. All right, so let me see what else y'all saying. It said Brett needs to call his own plays. Yep, he will have Juju looking like Shedeur, right? And it's not even right to do that. It's not even right to do that. It said these narratives, man, it's too much shit going on to be digested, too much politics. That's exactly why left witch left. That's exactly why people like, where left witch? This is why he left, right? I told y'all I saw that post on X before the Georgia Tech game that said Colorado is a show, and I thought it was somebody being messy. When you got kids going to third parties asking, is this right? When you have people running out telling the media about the change that occurred, that means somebody didn't want that to get out. Why is that a secret? Pat Schumer's reputation precedes himself. So I will ask y'all again, what the hell is being protected? Honestly, what is being protected? And now we're at a time in Cleveland, because the situations are parallel. Now the media, like Tony Grossi, he just straight up asked Jerry Jeudy in front of Dylan, can Dylan see you on the field? I'm like, damn. He basically calling it out that Dylan's height is a problem, right? Then he gonna ask Dylan, well, you've had so many opportunities to do this. Tony Grossi is ready for Dylan to get the hell on. Now that's just interesting in itself. But he is saying, Tony Grossi is saying that the Browns are not giving them any information. And what they did give the Mary Cabot lady about the trades and all that, they straight lied. They didn't do none of that they said they was sending. So now they lying to the media. They lying to the media. And over here in Colorado, somebody got to go and to the media under the cloak of anonymity because Coach Prime don't want to be transparent. Who else is that don't want to be transparent? I know we support Coach Prime, but something ain't right. They didn't either put something in his water, his tea, or something, because he don't move like this. This is exactly why I went back and watched the video from Jackson State. And I know he different because he older, but aligning himself with Pat Schumer is making me feel like they done put something in his food because he's smarter than that. He's and it has to be something that they're using to get him to lean that way, because understand, Pat Schumer's contract is up at the end of the season. 3 games left and he gone. Somebody asked, what are y'all most excited about with these last 3 games? I said that Pat Schumer contract is up after the 3rd one. And people was like, what? Yeah. And now that his contract is up and it's been discussed that Coach Prime, will probably be looking for a new OC and DC. That's what it said. They trying to push Pat Schumer back and force him that way. I don't want Coach Prime to go along with that. But it is disturbing to have Brett Berlon using Pat Schumer's schemes, but switching out the headset. That's no different than Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees, which is bullshit. Even Grossi said it. Kevin's still calling everything. Yes. So is Pat Schumer. So why would Coach Prime entertain that? And it wasn't supposed to get out. So he didn't entertain it with the knowledge that we would talk about it. It got out because somebody, again, knew it wasn't right and went to a third party. What the hell is going on? What are we protecting Pat Schumer for? And if he protecting Pat Schumer, is it because CU prefers Pat Schumer? And if so, let him have it. Let him have it. But that ain't going to happen because why? $54 million. I'm like, they already got you once with the money. They're going to get you again with the money. I ain't saying get up and walk away, but some got to give. If you truly have power, Brett Bertolone should be calling his own plays. And because we have watched Brett Bertolone and, Shedeur and Jackson State, and I have seen nothing that reminds me of Pat Schumer, I would know the difference. So with me and a lot of other people, because when that dude was standing up there looking over Pat Schumer's shoulders, and that's how you know there was a problem. We even said it, is something going on? And then the camera pan right on up there. So I'll be watching the game to see what the hell is going on. I expect Juju to get out there with Brett Bertolone calling the plays, with Brett Bertolone's playbook, not Pat Schumer's schemes. Like, that's playing in people's face. And they doing the same shit in Cleveland. I'm like, at what point are we going to realize that we have sunken to a point where we just Cleveland and we doing people wrong? We playing the same games they playing. And it's not benefiting Shedeur, so why would it benefit Colorado? It said them players ain't coming. Yeah, they ain't coming. That's why I don't even look at them damn recruiting reports. I see people talking about so-and-so coming. Okay. I need to see who's going to still be there, because I'm convinced when that portal open, it's out here. And I pretty much can kind of reconcile with Juju is getting some film. So, yep, that game broke my heart. Yep, it sure did. It said, who will go back to Jackson before CU? Trust me. We'll go to Jackson State before CU. Who are you talking about, Mac? Let me know. It said, Big 12 playing all of them late games. Yeah, that too. Because I forgot about that. They did get screwed on the schedule a lot. People said it. Why Colorado got all these late games? I forgot about that. But this game come on at noon. It said that's the obvious part. It said the school boys will go to Colorado. Will go to Jackson before Colorado. Oh, really? The high school players? CU was much more interested in the players like Travis Hunter. Yeah, and did y'all notice? I don't know if y'all noticed, but I think people thought Travis was there the whole time. No. When you look at Jackson State and you look at how Shedeur spread that ball around and how they used the run game, see, that's how you know they came from a real football program with a real offensive coordinator in Bertolone. We don't even kind of play calling over here. It's just like somebody said when we were talking about it last night, that Pat Schumer's play calling is baffling. That's the polite word. That's a polite word to say it's some bullshit. And again, I don't know why Coach Prime is on the record aligning with that bullshit. I really don't. That makes me wonder, okay, they either got something on you or they got something on you. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Hey, Nikki. It said it's over now. It said the prime effect is over. Oh, the school don't care about that no more. The school, they know, right? The school know they got all the relationships that they want in place. They got this partnership with WWE. They got these TV contracts. I have said it, giving Doc, prioritizing Doc's contract and making it the highest paid defensive coordinator at CU history and giving him that contract before Coach Prime was an affront, was a thumbs up to nose to Coach Prime, which is why I'm not surprised that there are conversations about Pat Schumer returning. If I was Coach Prime, Pat Schumer ain't touching a headset over here. Matter of fact, you don't even need to come back. We'll let your direct deposit hit like it's supposed to. You got to get that virus out of there. You got to get that virus out of there before it taints somebody else. And we already saw him hug Caden, and now people asking, was Caden throwing the game? Maybe, shit. By that point, it could have been, because he's trying to get to the NFL too, right? And maybe it's not that they have something on him, but Coach Prime trying to keep those relationships because he wants players to get drafted next year. Well, from what I heard, in 2027, Jordan Seaton is probably going to the Jets. So he ain't got to worry, but is he going to be at CU? Remember, he will clutch sports. If he walk, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. If Juju out here getting filmed, don't be surprised. If Bertolone is still calling these BS plays, it's to protect Pat Schumer's reputation. And the only reason you would do that so you can justify bringing him back next year. And if that happened, I'm gone. I'm not watching it. Because he should be gone. He should have been gone the second half of the Georgia Tech game. And I don't know why anybody that came from Jackson State would protect him. It said Jimmy was supposed to come. Yep, Jimmy was supposed to be there too. Starting your own war, derailed back at JSU. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's it. It said, and the kids truly loved it. Yep. And you know what's crazy? Them kids did not want to go to college. They did not want to leave. Shiloh did not. And you know why now. And I mean, Shedeur, where he was going to go anyway, right? But you know what I think too? I don't think it was just the money. I think the people around Prime, and in this way, you got to watch. You got to start watching that. The people around Prime. I know somebody said, you know, Shedeur probably could win the Heisman. And what did they do? Make sure he didn't get on that stage. So what I'm saying is everything they used to get him to leave, they took away. They didn't even want to give Travis the Heisman. Well, damn. That should tell you, if I didn't want Shedeur to get it, if I didn't want Travis to get it, you think I wanted them two over there balling out at Jackson State for the next 2 years? Hell no. Hell no, because that's just like Black unity. That's why they don't want that. They like it's fragmented because we can't get it together, so they think. Y'all saw what happened last night. Oh, how's it go? Ooh, we could do the wave. It's blue. I said it. Change is in the air. Change is in the air all over the place. But I'm afraid we might be losing somebody. I'm like, because I don't know what the hell is going on. The more we look like Cleveland, I don't know. It's concerning. It's concerning. It's been concerning, but it's even more concerning. These kids here see how Shedeur was treated. Travis was treated. Everybody. Yeah, they see. Oh, guess what? Remember we've been talking about what the hell is going on in Jacksonville? Why they tripping with Travis? Why they don't want to win with Travis? It's not they don't want to win with Travis. They know they can win with Travis. They don't want to get to the playoffs possibly because the first round pick that they sent to Cleveland loses value if Jacksonville goes to the playoffs. So Travis is out for 4 games and they didn't even know what was wrong with his knee, which is crazy. And I said, it don't make no sense. So I kept hearing people say that Jets got the first pick. I'm like, why the hell Jets have a first pick? I said, Cleveland got the first pick. They got it from Travis. And I said, let me look this up. Will the Browns lose the first pick if they go to the playoffs? It said if the Jaguars, actually, the Browns acquired the pick from go to the playoffs, the pick's value drops. So now to steal the deal so Cleveland can get what it is they got going on, they need Jacksonville not to get to the playoffs because it negates the pick they got for Travis. But it serves them right because they only use that trade for Travis to hurt Shedeur. Yeah, that's it. They don't even really want Travis to play like that. That's why they said he was out for 4 games and they didn't even know what was wrong with his knee. This is about the playoffs in Jacksonville and that first pick that they sent to Cleveland. Remember, when they agreed to make that trade, they pivoted from Shedeur. So if I don't get the pick, I let Shedeur go for nothing. You did. And now you got him over there for $4 million. And if he go out there and ball out, he going to save Kevin Stefanski's job. Because of right now, I've seen Trey Wingo, who I don't know, and Tony Grossi both say they think he's getting fired. His contract, I think, might be up at the end of the season. He probably fine with that because mission accomplished. Deshaun was his mission. Running off Baker was his mission. Shedeur was his mission. They have the first pick of the draft if Jacksonville performs a certain way. All of that's tied to Shedeur and Travis. And there's no reason to believe after knowing this that they were going to be comfortable with them balling out for 2 more years at Jackson State. Hell no. Coach Prime was already getting the damn recruits. A Black-owned league. I do think they should get their own league. It said Juju still has a choice. He sees it too, I bet. Here's the thing, right? Juju just need to go out there and play football regardless because the fight is really not about the quarterback, right? Kate is just a scapegoat. A scapegoat to say it's not Pat Schumer. Now, Caden out the way, so I put Bertolone in, but I don't tell nobody. And I get to say, well, I mean, nothing happened, right? So I might as well go back to Schumer or bring him, or it's not him. That's the goal. The goal is to say it's not Pat Schumer. It's either Bertalone and or Caden. That's why I don't like that. Because Bertalone been there too long. Don't do that, because that's going to be a nuclear mistake. So if nothing changed with Bertalone, that means I might as well just stick with Pat. So the narrative to get Pat next year, it would explain to you why he's still there. That's going to be, I said Pat Schumer was going to be the biggest hire mistake that he's ever made. And I don't even know if he hired the man. I'm really not sure. I feel like the people around him have more to do with some of these choices than he does. The common denominator is Prime. Sorry, but it's true. Schumer is terrible, but the bubble screen has been there since day one. Okay. Hey, how you doing, Buffs Playbook? Welcome. So you think if it's been there since day one, are you saying the bubble screen was there when they went 3-0 with Sean Lewis? Let me know your thoughts and welcome. It's a safe space. It's that it's maybe just me, but I feel like if you have a connection with Prime, it's a red flag. What you mean by that, Matt? You talking about other coaches and stuff? It said, Buff Playbook said, Prime even said it in his news conference. He did not want to tell reporters that he made a change. He is loyal to the wrong people, friends over results. See, I could see if like Pat Schumer had thrown Shedeur under the bus before the draft. See that right there? And the fact that we look like Cleveland is something. We just ain't got to it yet. It's something being protected. And it got everything to do with Schumer. And we know Schumer's connected to Stefanski. And we know Stefanski got his thumb on Shedeur. But sometimes I say, I don't even think it's Shedeur. I think it's Schumer is so well connected in the NFL that he could throw a nuclear bomb at Shedeur and it land on him and destroy his career and make him end up with who? Stefanski. That if Coach Prime don't do what Schumer want, maybe the program sinks in the draft next year. Have y'all thought about that? Because we all know the program was hurt this year. If the draft go the same way it did last year with these kids held back and only a few kids coming out and no quarterback, that's going you think recruiting gonna hurt. So there's a reason why he keeps aligning with Pat Schumer when he should not be. And that is not like Coach Prime. Caden played youth ball for Coach Prime. Brett Bertalone came from Jackson State, but he choosing Pat Schumer over them, and that don't make no sense. I'm telling you, it's something. Don't know what it is. It's either the connections so I can keep going in the drafts with these kids, don't kill my career, or don't end my son's career. It's something, but they got it. I just hate to tell you, but somebody got it. This not like him. That's why I'm showing y'all that. This not like him at all. And it's not because he had cancer or he defeated cancer or he sidestepped. No, it don't have nothing to do with that. Look at the common denominator to this. Look at who we protected, Pat Schumer. Look at who he connected to, Cleveland. Look at where Shedeur is and what happened to Shedeur and the program in the draft. Because every youngster from Prime has had issues. Like who? I mean, Travis and them didn't really have none. It said they threatened that child and everything. Who are you talking about, Amber? I remember that play. I felt bad for the tight end and him dropping the ball. Oh, Amber talking about the kid from Jackson State. Yeah. Yeah, But that's why I looked him up. He moved on with his life. He ended up in college. He actually plays for Missouri. He's Missouri Tigers or something like that. So he went on to be fine. That kid was distraught. I was like, geez. But Shedeur, he just talked to the team. He like, look, it's not just one of us guys. And you know, it all came down, you know, it's not like it was a blowout or whatever. But the moment that Jackson State under Coach T.C. Taylor, who was on the sideline, the moment he won a Celebration Bowl, people said, Coach Prime never did that. So that's when people began to question Coach Prime's coaching pedigree. And then this year at CU, what's going on, people are still questioning it. I don't question his coaching pedigree. I'm questioning his allegiance to Schumer. I'm not understanding it. I remember that play. I felt bad for that tight end drop. Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on there. Every time I look at that play, I can just shake my head. It said, reminded me of that drop pass from Lamar to Mark Andrews. Yes, because that's exactly what I said when I watched it before the podcast. I said, he must be related to Mark Andrews. I said the same thing. I did. I said the same thing. And I don't think that was an accident. I said the same thing. And that's why I'm telling y'all, I looked at that video and I got a headache. I said, is there any way possible? I said, is there any way possible that was intentional? Because if you thought it was, would you have brought Bert along with you? No. So that meant he believed it was an accident. I don't know. I don't know. Because that is the beginning of the bullshit at Colorado. Making sure you leave Jackson State so y'all don't get all the recruits from the big schools and y'all bring all the HBCUs together, because that's what was happening. And it's still happening, right? Even with him gone, even with Eddie George gone, the next generation of coaches is there. 47,000 people showed up for that game, right? And Philly, Norfolk State, and Delaware State. So, it just seems to me that everything surrounding this move to Colorado, starting with the end of the Celebration Bowl, then they still in their JSU clothes, hopping on the jet to Colorado. The office is already waiting. It just kind of feels like there was a move, some things in place to make sure they didn't change their minds, right? To make sure, kind of like when you go to buy a house, right? You put the money in escrow, that kind of keeps you from changing your mind and running off somewhere else. Like, you just stop looking at that point. You just know that that's where you're going to be. It's kind of like that, right? And I feel like when they went 3-0, okay, if you remember the Texas Tech game, nobody was going to win that. See, the point is, they went and got them from an HBCU, but they didn't think they could win. That's what was crazy. That's why I say this whole situation ain't right. They went and got them. They got the players. They got the Louis luggage, but they didn't put the coaches. But the coaches made the trip. But they never could get the job, which is why Thurman left. But Bert alone stayed. And we just not getting to him. But we got to him with Schumer's playbook. And it was done in silence or secrecy. There's a lack of transparency to people who are talking to third parties. And the crazy part of it all, they got people that really thought that they could not win. And not only did they win, they went 3-0. And after that, it was on. And then people say Schumer, not Schumer, but Livingston, was it Lewis? Lewis and Shedeur fell out. But the truth is, Shedeur wasn't willing to go along with taking his father's team. So there was a wrestle, if you will. But the NFL is using that exact situation to hold back and deny Shedeur. This kid saved his father's program not once, but twice. And if he had to save it from Pat Schumer, if the NFL is actually calling out things that we know happened where Pat Schumer was concerned, calling his own plays, picking who the coach is. I don't think the NFL wanted him to come out at the top. I don't. I think that's why when he was number one, Cleveland was like, let's just act like we're going to get him. And today, I saw a mock draft from Mel Kiper Jr. talking about Dante Moore. I'm like, I'm not even following this. Because y'all not finna ruin this kid's career. Cleveland don't want a black quarterback. And if Stefanski is his coach, heaven help him. You see? And that's why Stefanski will be there next year. Because they're not trying to make no moves till that Manning kid come out. Shedeur is a hero. Went to Jackson State. Bert Long was the OC in that last game. He balled out. Put that team on his back. And when it ended so heartbreaking, he just was like, look, it's not just anybody's fault. Took a shower, put his clothes on, talked to his dad, hopped on the plane, and started over new at Colorado. 3 games in, when they swore they couldn't do it, they began, the referees, the internal staff, even the police, putting a boot on his Cullinan. I thought y'all wanted them here. It makes it look like Rick George was the only person that wanted him. And I know Rick George couldn't have got that done by himself. So they wanted them to come, but they hated them at the same time. And now it seemed like Coach Prime is so close to the forest, he can't see the trees to know that's what it was all of this time. And now they finna finish you. But rather than him quit, it seems like he's choosing to align with the very one that's taking him down. And I don't know if he know that Doc and Schumer working together, because I don't know how he don't. It's like we watching it, but he can't see it. Kind of like they said Travis was in his situation. Standing on the railroad tracks with headphones on, listening to music, and it's a train right there, and everybody like, hey, hey, hey. It feels the same way. Like he just blind and he just can't see. So that just means it's going to have to happen. And it ain't, we can say it all day, but it's just going to have to happen. It said they were 12-1 the second year, lost nothing but the Celebration Bowl. Wow. So, and Brett Bertolone was that guy. He was that guy. One day we're going to find the truth about why Brett Bertolone wasn't the OC, because I'm going to just say this, right? If you came to get me from Jackson State because of all my winning and turning around the program, why would you have me to leave behind my OC in DC? Or better yet, let them make the trip, but I can't install them as the OC in DC. Him bringing them makes me think he was going to use them. And at the last minute, bait and switch. We got these two strangers for you right here, who Sean Lewis thought he was going to be the next head coach at CU. And don't be surprised if when Coach Prime grown, he come right back. Because if you ask me, the way this season ends, if we end up 4-8, there are people who believe that Shedeur was treated the way he was in the draft by the NFL because Sean Lewis got fired for trying to set up the team. How dare Shedeur try to save his father's program? And then he ends up in the Lions Den with Stefanski, which is Pat Schumer's boy. And I know Coach Prime know that. Instead of going into OT, Prime should have went for the win. Yeah, I don't know. I never really looked at it from a football perspective. Like the way I analyze games now, like should you have done this? Like we said, Browns versus Panthers. Why the hell Stefanski got Shedeur trying a 4-1 throw? Why the hell wouldn't you just give this to the running back and just lean forward, right? So it just seems like when you look at the video now and look at the long form video, just Google it. It says Shedeur Sanders' last game at JSU. That's the Celebration Bowl. It's good. Watch it from beginning to end, from when they arrive in the locker room and getting ready. How when they're in the locker room before the game, everybody was getting ready. Shedeur was on the side with the towel on his head to himself, saying his prayers, that kind of thing. This is a movie. It definitely is a movie. It just makes you look at the way that game ended and all the shit that has happened at CU from year one. Shedeur, now that we know, putting this team on his back to save his father's program, to year 3 and everybody just scratching their heads. And now we all like, did y'all come get Coach Prime? Not for a long time, but to disrupt what was going on at HBCUs. I'm ready to say yeah after watching that game again. I'm ready to say yeah. There ain't that many coincidences in the world. Matter of fact, there are no coincidences. And there's some things you can't see till you turn around and look back. It's called hindsight. Hindsight is always 2020. But look at how they were treated when they first got there. Look at how they booted their cars and got the kids got tickets. And I remember I watched the video recently with Shiloh. Well, he like, damn, I didn't know it was like that. And knowing they didn't want to leave, knowing why they didn't want to leave. It wasn't just the women. It was also why his daughter went back to an HBCU. What could that feel like for him to move everybody to Colorado and Shiloh not ready to come? He want to stay. Shedeur misses it. And Shalimar goes back to an HBCU. Maybe Jackson State, maybe just wasn't the right place at the right time, but maybe FAMU was. So it wasn't the HBCU world itself. It was the situation happening with the president, who I happen to believe had everything to do with the legislators that run that school. trying to push out Prime. Though that's one of the things that I think that they put in place to push him to the other side. The money, yes, but more so than the money, Shedeur winning the Heisman was not going to happen at Jackson State. But look what happened when they got there. That's why I said I think they set them up. They didn't care about the money because they could get that, and they did. They cared more about the prime effect in terms of recruiting and Black players, which is the talent, going to HBCUs, period. That's what they stopped. And that makes the end of that game, it just make you want to cry because you know that has something to do with it. However, intentional or unintentional, it don't even matter. It was the dagger that closed the door, which is why they were still dressed in JSU clothes when they went. Shout out to Shedeur. Why? Because his video trip home was filmed by one of his teammates from Jackson State. I like that. I like seeing him go get a cameraman from Jackson State. I like seeing Shiloh with Edward Waters talking about his time and how much he loved Jackson State. That needed to be said. It does matter. HBCUs do matter. And them kids didn't want to leave. But I think the draw was Shedeur can win the Heisman. I think the people around him said it was a good move, but I think it was always intended to go down like this. And if Chesney's conversation, I know he a booster. It is true that they talking about, if Coach Prime quit, they don't have to pay him. It would just be like Mel Tucker. Sometimes you have to sit down and look at things and admit what they really were and admit why you really made the choices you made. He said God woke him up at 3 a.m. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. It wouldn't have hurt so bad if they had won. Right. That's true. It said when your Heisman having issues, since he came out, it's personal. What you mean having issues? Like on both sides of the ball? It said put the ball in your son's hand for the win. Facts. And that goes to tell you how much he trusted Bertolone, because even after that loss, he still brought him with him. So I don't know why it took this long to get where we are. And I don't believe that he was using his own playbook. I'm pretty sure if they did all of this in secret, he was just the headset. That's what I think. But I do think when Juju got in, I do think he called that play. I believe that. I missed this CP. Yup. It said I missed the Jackson State time. Yup. It said this bring back a lot of emotions. It does. That's why I was like, oh, should I have really watched this? That's how I felt. I was like, I don't know if I should have watched this before. I was at these games. Okay, Mac, because you in Atlanta area. Okay. We were so sad. It said that was the perfect play call. Yep, I remember that too. It said those were the days. Yep. Leadership, franchise, QB stuff right there. Right. Because he blamed, how it's crazy. Like this kid solidified himself at Jackson State. And when he got there, all they did was tell him, you not him. You not him. You blame your teammates. No, he didn't. And they don't ever look at his time at Jackson State. Andrew Berry is the only person I heard address the 4 years of college. He said, we don't look at the interviews, meaning we do what the Giants did. That ain't on us. We go back sometime 2, 3, 4 years. I said, oh, that's Jackson State. Right? And a little part of me believes that now that Andrew Berry has been thrown under the bus and they want to fire him and Kevin Stefanski, that it is quite possible that he will be some type of instrument of value towards Shedeur going forward, if you know what I mean. I like to believe that. I'm not saying he's there yet, but I could see him getting there. Because what did he learn? Oh, they turning on you. Lesson learned. Yeah, people were threatening him. Yep. Good times. Thank you for this. You're welcome. I was somewhere with my tissue at the joint. My heart hurt. Lord have mercy. Woo, my heart hurt. And it's funny. All of us could have been at this game and we didn't even know each other. And now we on this podcast. Isn't that funny? gotta go back and watch old well-off film. Right. This on Shedeur page. Just watching on Shedeur page. It is Bucky's video. The first day, it said they walked in the stadium and bro was screaming. Yup. I can only imagine what could have been. Yes. Yes. When I look at Jackson State and I see them playing that classic game in Vegas, I'm like, they would have been doing that. I'm like, it would have been lit, bro. It's just nice to even think that there was the opportunity. That's why I said, if they screw him over, I need him to go coach at FAMU. Because TC Taylor's doing good at Jackson State, unless he just want to move aside, but I don't think that's necessary. I think FAMU is the right program, even though they kind of crazy over there too. I don't know what they play musical chairs with the AD over there. I don't know what be going on, but I know they got the resources. But Jackson State, they put it together. Like they good. Like I watch their media. I watch I enjoy watching them play. They number 11. He's not even a starter because the starter got hurt. I even said it before this podcast because after the Celebration Bowl went off, the Vegas Classic came on with Jackson State and Grambling. And I saw number 11 run across the screen. I said, Coach Prime need to get him. That kid is good. That kid is good. Coach Prime need to get him. He need to talk to Coach TC Taylor. Coach Prime, if you ever see this number 11 for Jackson State, he second string or third string quarterback. He's good because the starter got hurt. So they need to get him because they damn near won with him. It's just they put him in too late. Miss Jackson, but they stole from him. Yep. It said Prime was taking baths in swimming pools. No, main is leave too. What you mean taking baths? Oh, that water issue, the water issue in Jackson. Yeah. Okay. That was during a snowstorm. I was even in Dallas. Okay, so he wasn't taking a bath voluntarily in the tub. This is because the water was out due to a storm. Thank you, Amber, for clearing that up. Because what? It said, I mess with Matt, but he's switching. What does that mean? It said if they stayed, Prime would have had 4 or 5 stars going to JSU and other HBCUs. TV deals would have been rolling in. And you know what else I thought about too? Remember when Coach Prime got to Jackson State after his first year, he was upset with the NFL because they didn't draft no HBCU players. He even called them out and said not a one. So when the year came around for Aubrey Miller to go, it was Aubrey Miller. Is it James Houston? I think James Houston still played for the Cowboys, right? And then I think it was another player, Isaiah somebody. It was like 2. They started getting some love because Coach Prime had called them out. So you see what would have happened if Shedeur would have stayed. Travis would be there. There's a Division II Heisman. If that's a D2 school, I don't know. Maybe they could have won that. The point is, the NFL didn't want to have to recruit from HBCUs. That's the point. They make them play a Legacy Bowl every year. They give them so many invites now to all these camps, but they only keep one. They just playing in them kids' faces. And then they taking the bodies. So it's like he had to leave so Shedeur could get to Colorado, and look how they got treated. That's why I say it wasn't worth it. I don't second guess if guy woke him up at 3 a.m. because it was things happening at Jackson State. But I look at what was happening at Jackson State and I look at what was happening in Colorado, and I think I'm willing to try Jackson State door number 2. Because, if you bring it in that kind of money, he should have been able to go to somebody and say, get this president the hell out of here. His AD should have been campaigning to move the president out because why? He was a problem, but he was a problem because of the people above him who really run Jackson State, these legislators, because they are a public institution. So maybe it was just too much to deal with for somebody that's new to it. I know Coach Prime got his degree from Talladega, but he didn't actually go there like we did. The people that went to HBCUs that was walking past the financial aid office to see the line hanging out the door, that kind of thing. The people who really know what it's like. He didn't experience that. It's nice that, he wanted his degree from there, but he didn't experience that. Shiloh graduated from there. And Shalimar went back, but she went to a different school too. So it told you that while it was good, it's just the way things were happening that were out of his control is what made it even easier to move on. But when you now stand back years later and look at both of them and look at this shit ain't gonna never let up over here. I could have maybe got rid of the president over here. Had some security. I don't know, right? And the reasoning that they came and got him, it just don't feel genuine. They made it seem like the only person that wanted him is the AD, and you know that can't go like that. Just like when Shedeur Jersey got retired, they act like it was Coach Prime's idea, and you know Coach Prime can't make that decision by himself. So it's like they've spent the last 3 years at Colorado proving we don't want you here. We appreciate you making us money though, but not we got somebody else, so we're gonna boot you out. We're gonna see. That's the one thing about it. We're gonna see how this ends. My prayer, if they hurt Pumpkin, and y'all know when we call somebody Pumpkin, we care about them. I'm talking about Juju. If they hurt Pumpkin, I'm just gonna be a problem. Because if y'all think I go ham for Shedeur, oh. I'm gonna be hot. If somebody gonna burn in hell on earth if they set that kid up. I'm just gonna put it out there. Just gonna put it out there. I'm gonna let everybody gonna get it. Because I keep receipts too. Keep receipts too. So if there's things I haven't said, so if this is a plot and they hurt Juju and he get caught up in this mess, I'm gonna unload on clip on everybody because this never had to happen. So I'm hoping that this is a real opportunity for Juju. I'm hoping it's a real opportunity for Brett Bertolone. I'm hoping it is, and this ain't some marketing BS to go back to Schumer because it's gonna be hell to pay if it come down to that. All right, let me see what else y'all saying. It said, but yeah, CP did pay for the team to stay in the hotel. He did a lot. He did a lot. And maybe, like I said, maybe it was just a lot. But the stuff that's happening at CU, I know, you got out of the frying pan into the fire. The shit that's happening at CU, it ain't gonna never stop. Right? The water situation, Jackson is it fixed? Because, that was temporary. The president gone, that was temporary. But the shit going on in Colorado, you see, Bossy got up out of there. You see, Shiloh said what he liked, and you see who Shedeur got for a cameraman on this last little run. Change. It says Schumer is out as OC. They said he didn't call the game Saturday either. Yeah, But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that was his schemes that they were using. Because they probably didn't even have time to pivot. I'm sorry. I don't think Brett Bertolone been over there that long coming from Jackson State where he did well to only be horrible and look like Pat Schumer. That's why they ain't tell nobody. It said Matt is all about CU, but he's hard to observe. Oh, really? So he's a booster then. So his conversation about what he's saying is very interesting because why is that a conversation to be had? Winter of 2021. Yeah, it was 0 degrees in Dallas and snowing. It said, I think they scare CP will change the college football world entirely. I saw that Arkansas wants him. Could the NFL fear? Coach Prime will go from Colorado to Arkansas? Is Arkansas different? I'm like, it might be. But it sounds like it's still Arkansas. Why is Arkansas? I heard that before. I think they said the schools he interviewed with before Colorado were Arkansas and Florida State, and they turned him down. So they thought they were done with Prime. They thought they had excluded him, and then he ends up at Jackson State. And then he flips Travis from the same Florida State that denied him. And then Colorado got him. Guys, the more we talk about this, just like right now, it seems like he being played with this whole Schumer thing. This Schumer Cleveland thing, because I'm gonna say that's what it is. I kind of think that all of it was to disrupt what HBCU. I really didn't want you to come over here and change nothing. I just didn't want you over there. Because Steve, look what happened. Arkansas, Florida State denied him. They like high-fiving each other, shutting him out. They thought they shut him out. He goes to JSU. They didn't care until they did. And then when he flipped Travis, boy, it was people. I remember how upset people were when he flipped Travis. And then he was getting other recruits. And had they stayed there 2 more years, the NFL would have had to recruit from the HBCUs to get the talent. And that's what they don't want. So what did the NFL do. They showed up 31 deep to watch Colorado. They ain't never do that at Jackson State. So they was showing him mad love, but it was time to get drafted. When it was time to get the Heisman, Shedeur was #1 player overall and didn't even make the stage. And then the player he's behind in the NFL right now is who booted him off the stage. They cheated that kid. And I think they played Coach Prime like a fiddle from Jackson State to Colorado to disrupt what was going on at Jackson State and the other HBCUs, just like they excluded him after they denied him from FSU and Arkansas, but he still popped back out. He was still successful elsewhere, so they shut that down. Then he gets to Colorado sound, so the HBCUs don't keep going, and they shut that down. It's the dots are coming together. I just hate that for whatever reason, he's aligned with the one that's taking him down and don't know that they working together. And all of this was just so you could leave HBCUs and disrupt what you was doing over there. Why else did they do what they did to his son? Because they never really wanted them kids. They just didn't want to have to go over there and get them. It's crazy, bro. Matt seems to be with Prime, but doesn't. It say, I don't know about that dude. So you saying he switched sides. And yes, he's the alum. That's interesting. So he know what the boosters got going on. Yeah, you keep listening to what he got to say, Matt, and come back and tell us because he knows something. It says Shedeur is going to be good. He has 2 S's on his chest. The kid is phenomenal. He is. It said them Browns can't hold him down. Right. Just like his pops, right? They trying to hold him down, denying him. He gonna pop up somewhere. He gonna pop up somewhere. That's the point. He's gonna pop up somewhere. It said, if we see it, there is no way CP ain't seeing it. Gotta be something deeper. You know what I also said? I said, I'd like to believe, because Coach Prime is street smart, right? From Florida, right? I'd like to believe that on the outside, I might appear to be aligning with this one right here to preserve something else. Who knows what the something else is? Could be Shedeur, Stefanski, could be the rest of my kids to the draft until I get out of here. Because they could disrupt that. And I think that might be what it is too. It could be for appearances, but the problem is it's costing other people their careers, and that's not going to work well for you, right? It's like he's stuck in the middle. It's like he's stuck because he hired them folk. And seemingly, I don't know who the hell hired Lewis and Kelly, but they have moved on and they're doing well. And I told y'all, if Caden pop back out somewhere and he doing well, that ain't gonna look good. Just like if Shedeur get out there and play and ball out, that ain't gonna look good for Stefanski. Because why are you holding him back? Why y'all saying it was Caden? It's the same thing. It's happening in 2 different places, but it's all connected. And I feel like at this moment, Coach Prime, whether he knows it or not, is stuck. It don't matter which way you turn. If you were here temporarily and they came and got you to disrupt HBCUs and the kid that you flipped from Florida State is now gone and your son, we handled him in the NFL, all that's left is to dispose of you. And what did they do? Prioritize Livingston's contract, who let schools run up 50, 52 points on CU. Why is that okay for him to do? Because CU prioritized him over Coach Prime and he know it. And made him the highest paid ODC, which is crazy. And I ain't convinced that they don't fire him. I ain't looked at his contract yet, but I don't know if it was just for 1 year. Because that's crazy, right? I told y'all at the beginning of the season, Doc looked like he ain't got nothing to worry about. The look on his face. It's like he was just going through the motions to get through this season until they make him the head coach. And, you know, now you got people trying to bring Schumer back. Interesting. I think Matt wanted a job. Yeah, it got something to do with the offensive line. I thought he was going to get it. I was shocked that he didn't get it. Oh, I know who got the job. The coach from Jackson State. Gunnar White. So all them Jackson State coaches that stayed are just now in year 3 starting to get jobs. That's crazy. After we done burned through this one, we burned through that one. In year 3, they just not starting to get they due. And Nick Saban was pissed off. Did. I was talking to somebody about this. I said, I guess people forgot the accusations that came at Coach Prime about Travis. Remember they said Travis' family got $1 million? He talking about who? I remember Travis told us his story. So quack. He was a part of that. He said it. I was like, I thought y'all was friends. Hell, kind of like Cam and Shedeur. I'm like, y'all really friends? You know, same thing, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, God said forgive. He didn't say trust. There's two different things. It's two different things. I just think that trying to do right has gotten Coach Prime in a pickle. That's all I'm saying. End of the day, CU football need to get it together. That's it, Mac. That's it. It said it's energy harvesting. That's why I tune out. Yeah. Me and my teammates threw hands. Just stop playing. Yeah. Hey, Beach Material. Welcome back. Amber said, I think Saban saw then the impact that the move made. It was shift talent from PWIs to HBCUs. That's facts. So what are we talking about if you're just not joining us? It's 206 of us in here. We're talking about, we looked at the video with Shedeur and them at Jackson State playing the last game on Shedeur's page. Personal video. And, you know, we're just talking about how, hell, I just said, I asked the question, did Colorado come get Coach Prime for a short time, a temporary time, for sole purposes of disrupting what was going on in the HBCU space with all the gains that Coach Prime had made, not just Jackson State, but what you see culminating now with Deshaun Jackson, Michael Vick. In other words, it kept rolling on, but the point is they disrupted that, right? They pulled the plug on that and took it over to Colorado. So we're talking about what it was they were trying to upend. They weren't trying to necessarily upend ESPN, watching them play or putting their games on TV or them playing in bigger venues. They were trying to disrupt the recruiting gains that Coach Prime made, one, by flipping Travis. And after he flipped Travis, and that last year went on to be, I think Amber said 12-1, only losing a Celebration Bowl, which means they had an undefeated season. Coach Prime recruits was knocking at the door. And that's what they tried to disrupt. And we talked about why it is that Arkansas and Florida State denied Coach Prime because they didn't want him at their schools. But after he went to Jackson State, popped back out and became successful over there, then they wanted him to come to Colorado. But look how they've been treated. He's been set up 3 years for the 3 years he's been there. They booted Shedeur's car, right? Right now, trying to figure out, right, who gonna be there next year? Is he gonna be there? We said it, the AD was quiet. He popped up on one of their coaches' shows. So it's starting to look like the whole thing going back to the last game, the Celebration Bowl, all was a setup to get Coach Prime away from Jackson State. We talked about how his kids, the youngest, the daughter, she went back to HBCU, different one. How Shiloh talked about it, Edward Waters, that he liked it. And he got his degree from there. And, you know, he speaks fondly of it. How Shedeur in his latest video, he hired the cameraman from Jackson State that played ball with him. I'm happy to see that. Those kids speak fondly, well, at least the boys speak fondly of Jackson State in their time there. So it just looked like they just pulled them from over there to break it up. That's what I'm thinking. And said, I think they are scared CP could change NCAA football world entirely. I'm surprised he didn't hire Nick Saban and Ray Lewis and Sapp for defense. Also, I seen Arkansas wants Coach Prime. Yeah. If Arkansas wants Coach Prime, it's so he could quit like Mel Tucker and go over there and get fired. Because they didn't want him before. Yeah, Nick Saban would never. And he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. In fact, I'm not sure who the friend is, because I think it was his wife that called out Nick Saban, Miss Terry, because he voted against Coach Prime. And she was like, you gonna vote against our dear friend, Coach Prime? I was like, okay. He showed it. And he also said, see, at that time when they was accusing Coach Prime of paying Travis $1 million to flip him, that's where the conversation started. That's where they started texting each other. We got to do something about this. And they decided who was it is that was going to go get him. And it was Colorado. it wouldn't surprise me if when they made the decision to go get him, that's when they decided to pull the plug on their other black coach that they had mid-season. And now they over there messing with Coach Prime year after year after year because they thought when he came from Jackson State, they really thought he wasn't going to be able to do it and win. They just thought he was going to be there for 2 years like the other black coaches. Yeah. And Shedeur caked up and was like, I ain't gonna let you take down my daddy program like that. And the NFL making him pay for it dearly. All the setup. It said the Met guy was interviewing with Whitlock. Nobody trusts him. It said, why they on the same podcast? That's crazy. That's crazy. It said my mama love her for some Shedeur. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Oh, Tina says she got the shop app. Good. If you shop from what she said sports.com, make sure y'all get the shop app. And we actually have, you can find us on there and shop from there. So I don't know if everything is on there, but one can lead to the other. But you can keep up with your orders. That's what I like about it. And you can relax your payments and it's no, it just kind of makes sense, right? If nobody's charging you extra and you don't have to pay for it all at once, then just, that's what rich people do. So be rich. Be rich. It said, yes, it's countrywide racism. What you mean countrywide? What you mean countrywide? That's crazy. She asked me daily, how my boy doing? Like I live in Cleveland. That's hilarious. Amber say her mama loves Shedeur, so he keep asking. She say her mama asking about Shedeur like she know where Shedeur is. That is so funny. It said, let Pat dig his own grave. I'm tired a bit about, oh, yeah. Yeah. God gonna have to fix that. It said, put out sugar on grits. Yeah, I don't push. Who put sugar on grits? Let me know. Type shit loyalty. It said, we tired, sis. Yep. It said, I hope CP didn't allow himself to get caught up in Colorado. I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. I really think he trying to salvage some things and we just don't know what it is. I'm thinking the program and possibly Shedeur's situation because he might feel somewhat responsible because they said he was. Not that he is, but of course they're gonna make you feel like it's your fault. Could Shedeur be collateral collusion by the owners because the Browns gave Deshaun that contract, so they punished the Browns by making them trade the pick and couldn't get 12 to the 5th round? No. Deshaun Watson's contract was akin to quid pro quo, which is illegal. The NFL had to do something about it. They did it. He had to go somewhere. 13 teams wanted him. They don't want him to thrive. So they sent him to Cleveland like everybody else they sent to Cleveland, especially that's black, and let them careers go to the wayside. And the only reason that the Browns made the trade instead of getting Shedeur for Travis was to get the number 1 pick for next year. But that also controls how Jacksonville can perform this year, which is what I said, that it's crazy for Travis to have a knee injury, for them to come out and say he's out for 4 games, knowing he can help them win. And they didn't know what was wrong with his knee. And then I read about what happens to that pick that they got for Travis if the Jacksonville goes to the playoffs. It gets devalued. I didn't know it worked like that. So now you got to look at what's going on with the Browns. Because, see, the Browns don't want to go to the playoffs the damn self. You got to look at what's going on with the Browns and look at what's going on with Jacksonville. I don't think it was a coincidence that the only 2 players in the 2nd round this year that came out, the 1 and the 2, were involved with the Texans and the Browns, which is Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I find that very interesting. That only the 2 players with fully guaranteed contracts in the 2nd round, which is not typical, played for the Texans, got drafted by the Texans and the Browns. That has everything to do with Deshaun Watson. I can't explain it, but it does. That's not a coincidence because they could have gave everybody and they could have only gave the first person, but it's Texans and the Browns. Deshaun and Deshaun. So they play too much over there. What I mean by that is rather than playing football and building teams to win, you could see that they're clearly colluding to control the movements that people make, the money that people make. I think one team was forced to sell, the Washington Commanders. One of the things they were found guilty of is overpaying veteran QBs. veteran players. Let me guess what color they were. So I'm overpaying the white players, but I'm underpaying the black players. They're not thinking nobody gonna look at their books, so they don't care about doing stuff like that. It said, so that's just what that is. It said, could be Nola girl. Hey, how you doing, Clara? Welcome. I think he has friends. I think a lot of people, here's a lot of people, what I hear people say about Coach Prime, and this is what could be troublesome too. They say that Coach Prime is nice. He has a good heart. He'll give you the shirt off his back. But did anybody say he was a good coach? I always thought he was a good coach. I did. I figured there's no way that you can win 3 high school state championships, that you can go to Jackson State and win 2 championships. I don't think you can do all of that if you're not a good coach. I don't. But as the boxes start to fill in, like when we get to the point where we find out why it is that the Louis luggage was the players, but not the coaches, the OCC from Jackson State. When we find that out, it's going to make sense. It kind of already making sense. I think that just provides further clarity, right? One day we're going to find out why it seems to be that Coach Prime is aligned with Pat Schumer when he shouldn't be. We ain't going to find that out today. Maybe tomorrow. So it's some things out there that still need to be answered, and the answer going to come. It's just, to me, he just seems to be not fully aware that it is highly likely that they came and got him from Jackson State with the intention of only being temporary in Colorado for 2 years at the most. And they have no intention of paying out that whole contract. They just came to disrupt. We're going to see. So we're going to get ourselves out of here. It's a lot. It's a lot. Go watch. Let me see if I can find one of the clips. It's on Shedeur Sanders' page, the video we were watching. Shedeur's final game at Jackson State. It's a Google clip, so just go to his page. It's actually really good. It's really good. There's a lot of videos on there. It's not just hold on one second. It's not just the Celebration Bowl. Shedeur memorialized like all of these games at Jackson State, a lot of the games at Jackson State. I don't know when Bucky started filming. And then the move to Colorado. He did a good job. I wish he would still do more of it, but I understand it's probably labor intensive and he does more on Twitch. But I think he should keep doing it, because now you look back at, the time at Jackson State, that's good memories. And I know that is for him, because look at how he was celebrated over there. And then look at after game 3, how he was berated. And you look at what's going on now, it just kind of breaks your heart that he's a good kid and they punishing him for saving his father's program. He's a hero. So I'm going to get myself out of here. This was awesome. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 10:35. Members, we do have a podcast on Friday at 6. And I do think I might wake up to watch the game. Wake up, run some errands, and watch the game. I kind of want to see what happens, but then I kind of want to hear about what happens later, because that's 4 hours out the day. So I'll let y'all know if I decide to watch it. But I want to support Juju and the players. And I hope, I hope this works. That's all I'm going to say. All right. I'm going to see y'all later. Have a good night. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports, everybody. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Have a good one.